Morning power up. It's great to have you guys here. It's another wonderful morning. We're going to try the San Pellegrino again. We're going to take a sip, all of us together, and enjoy this moment as we begin my favorite day of the week. A lot of people love Saturdays. A lot of people love Sundays. Some people are crazy about Fridays. I love Mondays because I feel like Mondays are full of new hope, new beginning, a chance for you to hit new and exciting goals. For me, every day is a Monday. A lot of people like to say every day is a Saturday. For me, every day is a Monday. Every day is a new beginning. Every day is a new opportunity to push forward and achieve something great. So here we are on the morning power up. Now, I'm going to keep this one short like I always do. These aren't meant to be long calls. But I'm going to talk about an important principle. And I jokingly said I wasn't going to tease what I was going to talk about. And you should know what I'm going to talk about if you've been paying attention. And I'm going to talk about an important lesson that's been very prominently talked about over the last few days by a certain Morpheus, a good friend of ours. And it's an important lesson that's been powerful in my life, and it's going to be very important to how we proceed inside of the copywriting campus moving forward. I'm going to start talking about this by first telling you a story from my time in basic training in the Army years and years ago. So a lot of you guys know this. I served in the National Guard. I still technically am in the National Guard, in the Army National Guard here in the United States. And I went to basic training in a place called Fort Sill, Oklahoma, which is like the middle of nowhere, Oklahoma. Super hot, super humid, wonderful place, great for vacations. And I joined the military long before, again, years ago. I was looking for a sense of brotherhood, a chance to work together with other people, serious men. I didn't get exactly what I wanted when I joined the military. I don't think anyone ever really does. But that's why I was there. And while I was in basic training, I learned a lot of really important lessons. And let me explain what I mean by that. So when I went to basic training, I expected it to be extremely difficult, right? I expected to be trying physically, mentally, emotionally. I expected to be held to a really high standard, have to push forward really like to my utmost in order to succeed or even pass, right? And obviously it wasn't easy. It wasn't a walk in the park, but it was nowhere near the difficult challenge I thought it was going to be. Basic training is not hard, right? If you can move, you can make it through, basically. And they've made it even easier since. They've made it all nice, and they can't, like, drill sergeants can't swear at you and stuff like that now. It's a joke. But I remember there was one day, and I mean, I gave it my all. I pushed myself to the limit, regardless of whether it was required of me or not. I did really well. I enjoyed and got a lot of value out of the experience myself, but it wasn't near the challenge I expected it to be. I remember looking around at other people, and I was a little older than most of the people there. A lot of them were like younger kids, 18, 17-year-old guys. And they were going through this program, and so for some of them it was crazy difficult. They couldn't be away from their phone for more than, this was the first time they'd been away from their phone in their entire lives. They were just completely stressed out and never dealt with any kind of adversity in their life. And they were just like breaking down. Their bodies were weak. I remember one guy, he ran up the stairs with his rucksack on, and the stress from that like messed up his hip permanently. Like he had to go home and have like advanced surgery because his hips were so weak that he couldn't handle his own body weight plus 40 extra pounds going up the stairs. Like, it was just insane to me how weak these people were. And anyways, I went through, it was cool. I learned some stuff, but I remember there was one day we had a Q&A with one of the drill sergeants. Now, in the very beginning, the drill sergeants are extremely harsh. They're difficult. They're not personable. They don't talk to you. As time goes on and as you sort of earn the right, you get to ask them questions. They get to answer questions. There was this one drill sergeant in particular, infantry guy. He served in the 10th the 10th Mountain Infantry Division. So he had fought in Afghanistan for a long time, and he had some crazy videos he showed us, had some crazy stories. He was this little short guy from like New Jersey, just jacked, but just super short. I thought of him as a little bulldog. He was a stud. I remember one time he got angry and kicked this locker and like dented it. So it was crazy. But we were having this Q&A session. We're sitting around talking, and people were asking questions. And I think it was me. I asked, yeah, I think it was me. I asked him about the enemy. Like, I'm like, okay, like you've been over there, you've been in Afghanistan. What can you tell me about? What can you tell us about the enemy we're going to face? Because at that time we were still having deployments, so there was a pretty good chance I was going to end up in Afghanistan pretty soon after that. And he looked around, he looked at everybody, and he was just like, "You guys are soft. You guys have no idea the kind of people you're going to be fighting." He's like, "I hunted the Taliban in those mountains for years, and he's like, I saw them do things with less than you can possibly imagine." He's like, they were running around like one foot had like a broken flip flop, and the other had a dress shoe, and they just run around with like no food, no water, and like run straight up cliffs. They just grown up in this hard, difficult environment where their life was war. They had very little. They had next to nothing. They had difficult challenges, and they just faced them, and they grew up in that. And he looked around, he's like, and you guys are all soft. You guys have all lived this nice, cushy life. You've never done anything difficult. You guys need to get tougher, because the enemy you guys will fight, while they're not as funded as you, while they don't have as great as equipment, they have significantly more grit. You guys need to get tougher. Now that made an impression on me, right? Obviously, I think and I thought I was a pretty tough guy. I was working pretty hard, but it was true. My life had been pretty easy. Like all of our lives, like anyone who's in the copywriting campus, you may have gone through some difficult stuff, but overall, we've had a pretty easy life. We're not like those Afghanis running around in constant war, who I have a lot of respect for. The Pashtun tribe, those guys are studs. Super respect for those guys. And that's what makes the difference between us and them. That's what makes the difference between the Americans, and it's why we lost in Afghanistan versus the Taliban, right? Those guys, ideologically we may not agree, but those guys were tough, and they grew up tough, and they worked hard, and they were tough because they exposed themselves to difficult situations. They grew up inside of it, right? There's a reason Genghis Khan, who grew up in the steppes of Mongolia, the Gobi Desert, fighting to kill rats so he can stay alive as a young kid. There's a reason he and his soldiers were able to swoop down on the soft and easy Chinese and conquer that entire country easily over the course of a few years, because they simply had a higher level of pain tolerance and a higher level of stress. They had exposed themselves to greater challenges, and it allowed them to become more, to expand their personal power and capacity, their willpower, their strength and endurance. They had a greater sense of confidence, and they viewed the world as being full of lesser men, and so they conquered. This is a very true principle. And yesterday there was a call with the OG himself, and he talked a little bit about this in regards to the test that occurred, right? And I'm going to read some of the words he said in relation to this idea, and I want you to think about what they mean in your own life. He said, if you're going to build better men, or you want to be better as a man, the only way to do that is to go through something. We used to have coming of age events. You needed to go through something difficult. They used to throw a 12 or 13-year-old boy out into the wild and see if he'd come back alive. The problem with the world today is that it's too easy. It's too soft, and you can survive as a soft being. You may survive, but you will not be happy. True happiness as a man comes from strength. You're only going to have strength if you've been tested. The way you become stronger is you destroy a muscle. You destroy the muscle and it grows back stronger. That's what's important as a man. You go through things which do not completely destroy you, but they test you, and they damage you to the point you know that you're going to be a different person afterwards. Being a man is exceptionally difficult, and the best way to deal with it is being a very, very strong man. Words like fire, those are powerful words. They teach a powerful lesson, right? If you look at the example I gave earlier, right? We have the little Americans going through basic training, and we have the Afghanis growing up in Afghanistan fighting a war from the time they were like 5, right? These guys, the Afghanis over here, they had an external environment that forced them, like they had no other choice but to be exposed to these difficulties. You look at the Americans over here, they had an external environment where they had the option to be soft and easy, right? The external environment imposed no requirements on them. This external environment imposed requirements upon them, right? There's an important distinction here, though. If you are born over here, if you're born in a nice, comfortable country like America or anywhere in the West, or basically anyone who's able to get on this call, right? You at least lived in a level of a world where things are easy enough. You have the internet, right? You have an easy enough life. But it doesn't really matter what your environment imposes upon you. You as a man have the opportunity and the option. You always have the ability to seek out challenging and difficult tests no matter what your environment is. You can always seek out those things. It is in your locus of control to determine the level of difficulty and challenge in your life. Therefore, it is within your locus of control to determine how strong you become. So, within the copywriting campus, I encourage you guys to do things like this to increase your strength. Like I have you guys do a lot of push-ups. That's a big part of our culture here. We do push-ups. We do a lot of push-ups every day. That's just a small way that you can add some extra difficulty or challenge into your daily life. But we're going to be adding more things, right? I want you all to become the best copywriters possible. I want you guys to become the best men possible. And there will be additional tests. There will be additional challenges you must face that will be difficult, that will stretch you, and it will give you an opportunity to transform yourself into a more powerful person. There's a reason, there's many reasons, but there's a very particular reason why our students do significantly better than other beginner copywriters. And that's because most copywriters are geeks. Most of them are just wee guys who have done nothing difficult, the little pencil neck people living in a little basement geeking out over words. And as cool as that is, it limits it's not that cool. It's not powerful. When someone meets you, they're not impressed. You don't have the same level of influence as a client if you're that guy. Now, I want you guys to turn into strong, powerful men who show up, and because of your own character, because of your own merits, you are able to produce copy effortlessly, and you're able to earn the respect of those who read your work and those who work with as clients, right? So we're going to be adding additional tests, additional challenges, little rites of passage that you must go through in order to go through the campus. The campus is already difficult. There's a level of achievement in doing it, but I'm going to make it harder. I'm going to make it more difficult for you and give you more opportunities to stretch yourself as a man. That being said, I have a challenge for all of you, everyone who watches this call. I have a challenge for you that I think is going to, this could, and this very well will change lives for those of you who decide to take this on. Over this coming week, over the next few days, definitely before the weekend, I would like each and every one of you to pick a challenging test for yourself. I want you to pick a target. I want you to pick a challenge, something you know will be difficult and will stretch you to your limits. It can be physical, it can be mental, it can be a combination of them both. But I want you to pick something that you know as a man will challenge you. It should scare you a little bit. You should be a little terrified of the challenge that you pick. I'm going to give you some freedom and some flexibility here. Obviously, don't pick anything that will put you in any kind of real physical danger. Be smart about this. Don't get hurt. Don't do anything that can get you killed, right? Do things that are difficult, that scare you, that challenge you, that you know you're going to stretch your utmost in order to achieve them. I want you to pick something and I want you to do it. I want you to go out and do it. You might win, you might fail. I don't care. I want you to test yourself to your absolute limit. And I want you to share it with the rest of the group. So over the next couple of days, I should see stuff inside the mindset. I should see stuff inside of the victory zone chats of you guys saying, hey, I created this test for myself. I went out and did it. And this is what happened. And this is how I've changed as a man. I want you guys to find an opportunity to do this. It's going to take some level of creativity. It's going to take some soul searching. You shouldn't just launch into something in the next 5 minutes. You should take some time to actually truly consider and create a challenge for yourself that will stretch you to your limits. But only do this if you're willing to face some uncomfortable truths about yourself. True challenges will reveal weaknesses that are uncomfortable for you to confront. When you do so and when you overcome them, you become a better man. This is how that strength happens. This is how you become that very, very strong man who is able to go through the difficulties of life as a man. This is going to be a powerful week. I want you all to take this extremely seriously. Those of you who do not find a way to test yourself will be revealing to everyone else inside of the group that you do not value your own progression and you do not value your own strength as a man. This is a chance for you to prove that you are not a coward, that you are a man who is ready, willing, and able to face difficult things. You're going to be proving this to others, and you're going to be proving it to yourself. It's going to be something that gives you added confidence as you show up on the next sales call or you sit down to do the next project. If I can accomplish X, whatever your test, whatever your challenge is, and it might be different for different people, right? If you showed up at the copywriting campus and you weigh $135 soaking wet, your challenge might look a little bit different than someone who shows up 195 lean, ripped, an expert fighter, for example. You're going to both have different challenges. But the the limit, you should both be going for the absolute limit. Both people is going to be less about what the actual challenge was and more about how far they push themselves and what they learned as a result. So that's going to happen this week. The people who are serious about becoming all they can be, who are about becoming the most powerful version of themselves possible, will rise to the occasion. Those who aren't are going to show their colors this week. I'm excited for this. This is going to be a powerful week. I think we're going to see some major transformations of individuals. I think we're also going to see some significant improvements in your quality of copy. As a result, when you become a better man, you're able to communicate better just as a wonderful byproduct. So that's what we're going to be doing this week. This is going to be a good challenge. I'm excited to see what you guys do. I'm sure some people